Welcome back to Squawk Alley. Two antitrust investigations underway. 50 state attorneys general launching a probe into Google. Separately, there's a multi-state investigation into Facebook as well, being led by New York. Joining us now is one of the state AGs involved in both Google and Facebook probes, Josh Stein of North Carolina. Mr. Attorney General, thanks for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me.
I want to start with Google here, because certainly advertising practices have been a source of consternation from a number of companies over the years. It's been looked at by regulators over the years for that business. Even Google comes out and says, we've answered many questions on these issues over many years in the U.S. and overseas, and that this is, quote, not new for us. But it's new for you, in a sense. Why now? Why are you looking to probe this business now?
Well, thanks. Think how important the internet is to your and my lives. It's how we communicate with family and friends. It's how we do our work or conduct business. It's how we watch TV, sports, get the news. It really is the critical infrastructure of the 21st century. And it's hard to imagine back 20 years ago when it hardly even existed. It was just in its absolute infancy. And where we are today, none of us could have possibly imagined. But now we have these massive big tech companies that have dominance in their markets, and they have the ability to really squelch the innovation that we have all benefited so much from through the internet. And that's really what we're looking at with Google and with Facebook, is to make sure that these massive market players, these dominant actors, are not misusing their power in order to harm consumers and squelch competition.
So the president of Microsoft, Brad Smith, was on CNBC earlier today, and one of the things that he talked about in light of the Microsoft antitrust woes that took place years ago was that situation for that company lasted 29 years, but that was still less time than it took for IBM or AT&T. What is your timeline for these investigations, whether it is Google or whether it is Facebook, and are you prepared for it to last for decades?
Well, we surely hope it does not require decades. And I will frankly say that an outgrowth of the Microsoft investigation was the creation of Google. Because Microsoft was in some ways constrained, Google saw a market opportunity and came into the world and offered their product, which so many people benefit from. So the whole purpose is companies do the investigation, hopefully in a timely fashion. None of us want this to go on for decades. In a timely fashion, reach some resolution, should that be the appropriate outcome.
Yeah, I think some would disagree about what set Google up to succeed, but I wonder what your focus is. Is it on consumer harm from these companies, or is it more on suppression of innovation? Because it seems like those are different standards. Consumer harm perhaps having to do more with pricing action and how much people have to pay. Suppression of competition having more to do with whether they're using their monopoly to unfairly gain advantage over other service providers.
And they're not mutually exclusive. And consumer harm can be more than just the prices you pay. Although if Google were manipulating its advertising power to raise the prices that consumers pay, then there is consumer harm in regards to prices. But we also, in terms of the services that are available to us and the quality of those services, do these companies that have such market dominant positions adequately value our privacy? Are they safeguarding our information to the same extent they would if there were real competitors in the market against them? So there are other ways to evaluate consumer harm. And then as it relates to suppressing competition, that also has an impact on consumers, because there is a whole wave of possible new businesses out there that want to take the internet in directions that none of us can even imagine, that can make our lives better. But if they are strangled on the vine, if they never even come to fruition, then all of that opportunity, growth, and value is denied to consumers, denied to the people of North Carolina, and that's a real concern to the people of North Carolina.
So with that in mind, I wonder, is there a fine large enough to satisfy this group of AGs? Because these companies' revenues are enormous. It's hard to imagine them feeling that pain unless you're going to change in business practices. Is that what you're after?
Yeah, there's a range of possible remedies depending on what the investigation concludes. But I think it really is premature to talk about what the appropriate remedy is, whether it's a fine or it's some other type of remedy, relief, until we've done the investigation. We just wanted to start this work. We wanted people to know that we are gravely concerned and we're beginning this work. But let's do the investigation, see what the evidence shows, and then go where it leads us.
North Carolina Attorney General Josh Stein, thanks for joining us today.